This is more of a thank you to Kyle and Christina. I was one of the people at home sitting watching stream of the Evo donation drive for Skullgirls, and it was really hype. Like I never expected to be that hype, especially for a donation drive. But just between Skullgirls and Smash going back and forth, it was really awesome. And I gave as much money as I could.
Thank you so much. And just a little context behind that, there was a donation drive for the 8th game to get into Evo, and there were like 7 games, and basically the competition was between Skullgirls, which is a game I worked on, and Smash Brothers Melee. And what ended up happening was an amazing kind of bidding war, and it ended with Skullgirls raising $78,000 for charity, and Smash raised, I believe they raised $93,000. So it was intense.
What do you guys think about Mordekaiser in Brazil?
Wait. I'm huge in Brazil.
Hi, my name is David, and what I was wondering was, like, what were your first impressions on, like, when you were voice acting your very first champions? Like, what were your first impressions on that?
Well, I did Twisted Fate first, and that was all they had was just a picture of him with the tilted hat, and I basically sat and thought about what I was going to audition with, and I basically tried to imitate Sam Elliott when he was in The Big Lebowski. Just marched over the dude, and just kind of, and went from there. And they really kind of, once we got into the studio, they kind of pushed and pulled and helped me make the character. And that one was, again, just working from a photograph, and then later I went back and when I did Victor, they had an animation for me to match, and that really helped figure out the character.
Yeah, that's a different process with Riot, especially in my experience with like working on champions, is that they do always have some sort of animation that they need you to match their voice to, which is not always the case.
And often a couple examples of characters they don't necessarily want you to mimic, but would like you to use as an influence. Like, obviously Shaco, I like to call him in homage to Mark Hamill's Joker rather than a straight up copy.
To better answer the question, I think we do a lot of we do a lot of like smaller games, and some of them are the kind of like RTS games where they have like 5 lines and you have no idea what they actually do. And so all we have is a picture and a short script of stuff, and so we didn't know what the gameplay. I don't think any of us actually knew what the gameplay was like until we saw it in action, and then we were like, oh, it's all right. Now it's a battle arena. I see. All right, it's different than like an RTS where you're sending somebody out to go get killed.
Or you're sending yourself out to go get killed.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Blaine Mudkip, and most of the champions have lines that reference other works of art. Do you make up those references, or does Riot give you those references?
We're not that smart.
The references went over all of our heads.
You can't say it.
Totally
Well, just for simple sake, the over 9000 line, was that scripted or was that completely?
Over 9000 was scripted.
Oh.
But that didn't come till the Pulsefire version of it. So a year or whatever later, 2 years later, they decided to do that, and that was after from the first session where I did Ezreal, and they found out like, oh, you did Dragon Ball Z, that's awesome. What character? Like Gohan, like awesome. And then little did they know that I was just channeling Gohan as Ezreal. That's my teenage voice. I mean, when we see the audition sides, we're given very little information, just little bullet points, like, here's a picture of what he looks like, here's his age, here's his attitude or his disposition, here's what he's doing, and then we just piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle, and we have to do it on the fly and have good improv, good cold reading, and all that. But actually the scripting and the references, that all came pre-done.
Next time.